Picture this. It's just after 1 a.m. on March 18, 1990. Outside, Boston is a sea of green, celebrating St. Patrick's Day. But inside the quiet, hollowed halls of the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, a crime is about to unfold that will become the art world's greatest, most baffling mystery.
Just 81 minutes. Think about that. That's all the time it took for two thieves to stroll into a world-class museum and walk out with a fortune, changing cultural history forever.
And listen, that's not me exaggerating. That is a direct quote from the FBI. They didn't just call it the largest art theft. Nope. They said the largest property theft in the history of the world. The scale of this is just mind-boggling.
And this is really where the story goes from a crime to a true legend. More than 3 decades later, still no arrests, no convictions, and most importantly, none of the art has ever surfaced. 13 masterpieces just gone, vanished into thin air.
So you have to be asking, how on earth did they pull this off? How do you just waltz into a museum and walk out with $500 million in treasure? Well, let's break down those absolutely critical 81 minutes.
When you look at the timeline, you really see how slick these guys were. At 1:24 a.m., they talk their way in, and get this, in just 11 minutes, by 1:35, the guards are tied up and they have total control of the building. Then there's this weird 13-minute pause. Maybe they were listening, making sure no silent alarms were tripped. Who knows? But after that, they head straight for the Dutch room, and for the next hour, they basically have the run of the place before they just walk out at 2:45 a.m., gone.
You know, their tactic was so simple, it was almost brilliant. They used that classic con, right? Dress up as cops, responding to a call. Once inside, boom, they isolate the guards, 2 young guys, and handcuff them to pipes down in the basement. And the final, crucial move? They snatched the security tapes. They literally erased themselves from the scene before they walked out that door.
But here's the thing. The how they did it is only half the mystery. It's what they took, and maybe more importantly, what they left behind that's so weird it has baffled experts for decades.
First off, let's just talk about the money. The official FBI estimate is a cool $500 million. I mean, that's a number that's hard to even wrap your head around. It's what makes this, without question, the single biggest property heist in history.
And we're not talking about just any old paintings. These were cultural icons. The concert by Vermeer, Rembrandt's only seascape, The Storm on the Sea of Galilee, not to mention incredible works by Monet and Degas. These are truly irreplaceable pieces of our collective history.
So of all the incredible pieces they stole, the Vermeer is, well, it's just on another level. You have to understand there are only about 34 known Vermeer paintings on the entire planet. This one, the concert, is widely considered the most valuable stolen object in the world, period. Its loss alone is a complete cultural catastrophe.
Okay, but this is where the whole thing just gets bizarre. They walked right past priceless masterpieces by artists like Raphael and Michelangelo. I mean, some of the most valuable paintings in the entire city. Instead, they grabbed this ancient Chinese beaker that's practically worthless, and they also nabbed a little eagle finial off a Napoleonic flag, something they could just stuff in their pocket. This is the central puzzle, right? They brutally cut these priceless canvases right out of their frames, a move that would make any real art lover physically ill. It just screams that these guys were not experts. Far from it.
So you've got this totally weird shopping list of priceless art and literal junk. And that sent the FBI spiraling down a complete rabbit hole of theories. Who were these guys? Were they just dumb muscle? Or was there something else going on? The investigation quickly zeroed in on a whole web of potential suspects.
After all this time, after decades of dead ends and false leads, the whole investigation is really boiled down to 2 main theories, and both of them point directly to the Boston criminal underworld.
So on one side, you have the theory the FBI really leans into, a local mafia crew run by a guy named Carmelo Merlino. But on the other side, there's a more specific theory, that this whole heist was a high-stakes play to spring a mob captain from prison.
All right, let's dig into theory number 1. This is the one the FBI has publicly backed for years. It points straight at the Merlino gang. Now, these guys were a notoriously violent crew from Dorchester, with deep ties to the Patriarcha crime family, who were, at the time, the most powerful mafia organization in all of New England. And look, the evidence pointing their way is pretty strong. Back in 2013, the FBI came out and said they knew who the robbers were, though conveniently, both were already dead.
Later on, the widow of one of Merlino's guys tells investigators her husband actually gave the paintings to a Connecticut mobster named Robert Gentile. So the feds raid Gentile's house, and what do they find? A handwritten list of the stolen art. It's a whole lot of smoke, right? But so far, no actual fire.
Okay, so theory number 2. This one revolves around a totally different mobster named Bobby Donati. And the motive here, supposedly, wasn't about the money, it was all about leverage. The whole idea was to steal this priceless art and use it as a get-out-of-jail-free card for his boss, his capo regime, Vincent Ferrara, who was staring down some serious murder charges.
And there's some real weight to this theory, too. A famous art thief, a guy named Miles Connor, actually claimed Donati was the mastermind. Associates of Donati's boss even confirmed he visited the guy in jail and promised he'd do something to get him out. But here's the kicker. Donati was murdered in a gang war just a year later. He might have been the one guy who knew where the art was, and he took that secret to his grave.
So here we are. We've got 2 pretty believable theories, a list of suspects who are all dead, and a trail that went cold more than 30 years ago. Which brings us to today, and the powerful, lingering legacy of this whole crime.
You know, if you go to the Gardner Museum today, it's an incredible experience. You won't see copies of the paintings hanging up. Instead, you'll see empty frames. Just empty frames, hanging right where the masterpieces were so brutally cut out. It's this haunting, powerful reminder of what the world lost, and it's also kind of a symbol of hope, that one day, they'll come back.
And that hope isn't just wishful thinking. It's backed by a massive, record-setting reward. $10 million. That's the largest reward ever offered by a private institution for any information that leads them straight to the recovery of all 13 pieces in good condition.
And this is the final wild twist in this story. The clock has run out. The statute of limitations for the theft, it expired way back in 1995. This isn't about catching the bad guys anymore. It's only about getting the art back. Seriously, someone could walk in tomorrow with all the paintings and they couldn't be charged for the original crime.
And so the world's greatest art mystery endures, leaving us all with that one huge lingering question. Are these priceless treasures lost forever, maybe destroyed? Or are they sitting in some climate-controlled vault somewhere, just waiting to be found? Will those empty frames ever be filled?